just wondering, rather than sort of asking you to identify a place where you have your own experience heterosexual privilege, you could just talk about or kind of highlight one of them that maybe surprised you, maybe one that you've experienced or just one that you never thought about. Did any of these surprise you? Do you ever think about things like these? You better start. Any that you found interesting? Yep.
I guess the second last one that says, I'm not asked to think about why I am straight.
Yes.
Because it's just society as a whole always, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, that's what you follow. Like.
I think most of the time we probably assume people are straight and so this is asking us to turn that on its head. Yeah.
I was asked at the gym actually yesterday or the day before, when did I know that I was gay? And then I turned the question around and asked, when did you know that you were straight? And they were like, oh, it's not the same thing, it's not the same thing. But it is the same thing. Nobody asks you that when you're straight.
What else? Anybody notice anything else they found interesting on the list? Yeah.
It's just one I don't really understand. It's like I'm not identified by my sexual orientation. What exactly does that mean?
So I think usually, particularly the strong identifiers like lesbian, gay, bisexual, and I think that's this is one of the reasons why queer has become so popular, is that people assume that they know who you are because you have this sexual identity definer. So people assume that they know something about you because they know that you're a lesbian, or they know that you're gay, or they know that you're bisexual. But actually, I mean, we queers have the same kind of nuances in our identity, sexual and otherwise, as everybody else, right? We have all kinds of different diversities, we're from all kinds of different places, all kinds of different interests, and so, you know, straight people don't have that kind of same assumption about, you know, people identify and define us by our sexual identities. It's a good question.
How about anybody else? Anything else they found interesting on the list? One more brave soul who wants to pick one out? Yeah?
Nobody calls me straight with maliciousness.
Yes. Nobody says it to you rudely or as a bad
Not
name?
that I recall.
Yeah, no. But the other, you know, we talked already about the way in which it's used in the playground as a way to insult people. Or the way in which the term gay is used to describe things that people don't like that has nothing to do with who a gay person might be. Any other examples? Okay. All right. Well, we like to use this checklist because it does kind of turn things on its head and allows you to think about things in different ways. We're going to just now run through some of the key issues that were the Positive Space campaign and working with the Sexual and Gender Diversity Office are really focusing on this year and in the last little while.
Do we have audio?
We do have audio?
Okay, so I'm going to play the video.
Okay, well, let's
Oh, sorry.
yeah. Do you want me to? Okay. So one of the key issues for the Positive Space campaign has always been really concerns or has been a focus on coming out. Simply, well not simply because, but for one reason is that often coming out coincides with coming to university. It's often the time at which people begin to explore and understand their own sexuality, and being away from their parents may have a little bit more opportunity to do that than they had beforehand. We think about coming out as a process. It's not necessarily something that you do once and that's it. You've come out and you never have to do it again. You come out all the time. You know, anytime you're in a new situation, a gay or a lesbian person has to come out again. And so we're always very concerned about the kind of supports that are there, both here at the university and then more broadly in the community in Toronto. We're not going to take the time today to use the clip, but Elvira Kurt, who's a comedian, has a really good clip on YouTube, if you Google her, about coming out to her mother and her mother's reactions and perceptions of the coming out process. Along with coming out come some of the threats and challenges of taking on a new identity, and an identity that's not necessarily completely integrated into our society and culture. And those can manifest themselves in some of the bullying that we've heard about and the suicides that have resulted for young people. We hear about them in high school, not quite so much at university, but nonetheless it can be an issue for people coming out in any situation. And many of you will be familiar, I'm sure, with Rick Mercer's rant from a couple of months ago when he spoke out very strongly, encouraging leaders to out themselves so that they would be there as role models for young people. And I'll just tell a little side story, which is that Rick Mercer eats breakfast at the diner that I eat at every Saturday morning. So I had jokingly said to the Positive Space Committee, oh, next time I see Rick, I'll tell him how great we thought that rant was. And of course, then the next day, there he was. And I thought, oh God, I've got to live up to this expectation, and I'm going to go up and talk to him. So I told him how much we appreciated, and he was very gracious. He's a very nice man. So these are some of the key issues for the Positive Space campaign. All right. Do you want to?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to play the video first because I think the video does a really good job. First, I'll just say that the trans community on campus is growing. We have a lot of students who are transitioning or interested in learning about transitioning and kind of what their options are. So that's kind of one of the new things that my office, the SGDO, has to learn about. And learn about the specific needs of these students and sort of kind of program for them, because a lot of what we do is student program.
So if you go to this one, it's open. If you go to this one, go across to transfer. And you can make it bigger.
Our culture likes to make things simple, and gender isn't.
It was the constant fight of me saying there's nothing wrong with being this kind of girl as opposed to, well, I'm not a girl.
We really see transgender as an umbrella term.
I know lots of people, lots of men who have vaginas.
It's not always easy to be in the middle.
I still prefer someone to just treat me like a human being.
Our culture has a pretty simplified model of gender, or traditional gender model. A model that says someone whose body has a penis would be identified as male. They would behave in a stereotypically masculine way. They would identify themselves as a man, and they would date a woman. That's what our normative or traditional gender model is. Someone whose body, whose sex is what we consider female, has a vagina, would behave in a stereotypically feminine way, would then identify themselves as a woman, and would date men. There are a huge number of individuals in this world who don't fit into those models.
A trans man, female to male, transsexual, but I identify primarily as a trans man.
I am a transgendered woman.
I identify as genderqueer because I feel like it's more accurate to how I feel in terms of my own gender identity.
People want to talk about transgender, and I always say you have to start by talking about gender. That's really the critical piece in the word.
Okay, so I'll just run down a few of the things that are kind of hot topics here at DiverCity. Okay, so one of the things that the SGDO has done in the past couple of years is had instituted a policy that we call the name change policy. And it's actually equally popular among international students as it is among transgender students, and actually it's more popular among international students. And the policy is only that your name on your university documents, the name that the university knows you by, so that's the name on your transcript, the name on your diploma, the name that professors have on their class list, doesn't have to be your legal name. And this can create sort of complications because university documents are legal documents, your transcript is a legal document. So it used to be that you had to change your name legally in order to change it with the university, but now all you have to do is write a letter to your registrar. You don't have to tell them why you want to change your name, you can just change your name. And you tell them that you want to change your name, your old name, your new name, and your student number, and then that's it. And you will, as far as the university is concerned, be known as the new name for the rest of your time at U of T. The tricky part is that sometimes your new name will be different from all other legal documents, and so there can sometimes be issues with graduate school, and you'll have to explain why you did that. It's popular because so it's popular with trans students because often it's expensive to change your name on all of your legal documents, and sometimes people don't yet know what they want their new name to be. So they might not yet be ready to choose a name of the opposite of their new gender, or they're not quite sure if they want to make the full transition. So they're in a period of sort of questioning and testing out the waters. And so in that interim period, you can change your name a number of times. It's also popular with international students who want to anglicize their name. So they want to choose a name that is easier to pronounce here at U of T, or they want a name that is similar to names of their peers. And so they change it for all kinds of different reasons. Another thing that's popular at U of T is the gender neutral washrooms map. And this isn't actually, so no washrooms have actually been changed. Which is kind of, this is it.
Go here.
Oh, right. So all of these pink keys identify places that are gender neutral washrooms, and basically all a gender neutral washroom is a single user washroom. So it's a washroom that you can go in, you can close the door, and you're the only one in there. And that's great for trans people because particularly people who are early in their transition are often not yet being read by people as the opposite gender. So if I started transitioning tomorrow, I might not feel comfortable using the female bathroom, but I couldn't go into the men's bathroom because I look like this. And so it's important to provide people, particularly on a business, with a lot of different options, of places where they can use the washroom to change their clothes if they want to go to the gym and whatnot. It's also popular with students with families. So if they come to campus and they use the family care office, they use daycare on campus, they can go into one of these washrooms, they can go to the bathroom with their kids, everybody can go at once, and then they can sort of go back. Or for dads to go in with their 8-year-old daughter. So it's good for a lot of different people, and it's just identifying washrooms that already exist. So it's not that we created these, they already exist. So those are the two major policies for transitions at U of T.
I think I'd just say that there's been lots of work done by the Sexual and Gender Diversity Office, but there is a growing population of students now who identify as trans, and so this is one of the reasons Positive Space is taking this on as one of our key issues for this year. And in looking at what the new poster campaign we may be producing, we're likely to focus on trans people as part of our campaign.
There's this big media campaign. I don't know if anybody, I'm never sure if I see this stuff more often because my job is gay and I am gay, or if this stuff is just as widespread as I think it is. But there's a lot of media campaigns going around now, kind of similar to the video that I showed you, that's showing examples of trans people, and the message is that a lot of times you just don't know. That you guys probably come into contact with trans people all the time, and you just don't know that they used to identity as another gender. So it's very common, more common than I think people think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just finishing pointing you at some of the resources. The first website is to the Sexual and Gender Diversity Office, but you should also be aware of the equity website for the university. The Sexual and Gender Diversity Office is one of 9 equity offices at the university, and there's a lot of crossover between the equity offices. So www.equity.utoronto.ca is also a useful resource. There's the Positive Space website. There is the areas where on the Sexual and Gender Diversity Office website for reporting harassment and bullying. There are also positive space campaigns at UTM and UTSC. UTM has a website, UTSC's website is just under construction. So we're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions right now about the Positive Space Campaign, we have Sarah Jane, Sarah Marty, as well as Brian and Michelle, who are also from the Positive Space Campaign, and they will be at the event and they will be helping us, I guess, choose the best recommendations. So if you have any case logistics or case or campaign questions, they would be the best resource for you. But if you don't have, does anyone have any questions?
I think the website, particularly the studio website, the equity website, and the Positive Space website are probably going to be very helpful for you guys when you create your business plans. There's a lot of information on all of them.
Okay, if anyone has, if no one has questions right now, we'll just go through a few things you need to know for the case and on the event day, and then we'll get to the case itself, as well as the case package, and then we should be able to wrap up for everything. But before we continue, I'd just like to thank Sarah Marty from the Sexual Gender Diversity Office, as well as Sarah Jane from Positive Space for giving a really informative and very comprehensive view of the LGBTQ community. And yes, so directed to the RCPA email, but then I will be usually the one answering everything. So just so you know what's going on, each team has to compose of 4 to 5 Rotman Commerce students. So if you have another U of T student, talk to us and we'll make the necessary arrangements. If you need to have 4 to 5 Rotman Commerce students, this is obviously exclusive of our external team. So we do have a team coming in from Schulich, just one team from Schulich who will also be competing. Definitely the odds are on Rothman's side, so our program proud. So each team will be given a case as well as a case package today. So the case has all the details. It will have a bit of the history to supplement the presentation of Sarah Jane and Sarah Marnie. And the case is about developing a strategy to increase student, staff, and faculty engagement at campus or around campus.